Good morning and welcome to a very, very cold northeast Lincolnshire. We're at Nick Harvey's, I think it's called Blackcomb Fishery, a newly created water which is about 13 acres in size. And before I get into the nitty gritties about this particular film, I must say that we at Avid Carp, we absolutely pride ourselves on having no boundaries when it comes to carp fishing. We enjoy fishing commercial lakes like this, we enjoy fishing 200-year-old estate lakes, it doesn't matter where. If there's carp in there, then we want to go fishing because there's lots of people out there that just enjoy fishing for what it is. So if this kind of venue isn't for you, then please move on, swipe on by, because there's lots of guys that enjoy fishing this lake, which is why it's quite busy at the moment. Anyway, it's roughly about 13 acres in size, this venue. It's got about 500 carp in it. It's newly created, which is why you can see there's not many mature trees and it looks very, very new as well. But the carp in here, there's actually some really nice carp in here. It's all been hand reared by Nick himself, and they run to about 37, 38 pounds, and they've been here a few years as well. It's only just been opened over the last couple of years, so that's why it's looking very, very new at the moment. But anyway, apparently spring has sprung very early, but it doesn't feel like it to me. It's very cold, which is why I'm hiding behind the bivvy here today. So the purpose of this film then, what's it all about? Obviously early spring fishing, what's my approach to early spring fishing, and also what is my approach to fishing for what we call green carp, you know, new carp. They've not been around the block, these fishing here, they're quite new, they're not seeing a great deal of pressure. How do I approach it? Without further ado anyway, let's take a look around the water, show you a few different swims, a few different spots, and then we'll get cracking. Just come up with a really good idea that Avid need to bring out some gloves because this wind is absolutely freezing, so I'm just going to keep my hands in my pockets, so don't call me a slob. If my mum was watching this, she might do. Right, Blackcomb Lake, you've got roughly about 16 different swims on this lake. Now you can see that some of the swims have got this like green mesh around them, and I think that's been put in place because it's very flat round here. You've got a really cold biting wind that blows right across this lake throughout the year, so there's the idea behind this green meshing is that it's going to give you a bit of protection. Now the lake itself, you've got depths ranging from about 4 foot to 10 foot. You can see visually there's 4 different islands out in front. Now they're going to be the main features on this lake. Now it is a clay lake, it's a clay bottom. The depths are vary all over the place, but what you've got below the surface just in front of this swim in particular is you've got some sunken islands, and I'm actually fishing to the back of one of those at the moment, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But feature wise on this lake, there isn't a great deal. There's no gravel bars. There might be a few deeper depressions that the fish have foraged out, so little deeper areas that you come across. Definitely worth investigating and looking at because they are naive fish, like I say. Also, you've got a big bay over to the left behind me, right in the corner around there. That obviously doesn't get the wind as much as this bank does, so maybe that's an area that is worth a rod or an investigation if you're over that side, because you know, fish on the back of a cold wind, they could definitely be holding up around there. Now in front of me here with regards to this feature, you can see we've got 2 gaps between the islands. It's very shallow amongst those islands at the moment. It's only a couple of feet deep. I wouldn't really be looking at those at the moment because we are sort of getting towards the 22nd of March now, which is the equinox. So equinox I always think is a great stimulant of carp. That time when the light levels start to become a little bit longer, the fish start to move about, and I've caught some amazing fish at that time of the year. We aren't yet there, we're about a week or so away from there, so they're not really moving, but there are fish getting caught though. There are 1 or 2 getting caught, so if you're dropping on fish, there is a good chance that you're going to catch them in a venue like this. Now we know that last night, this particular swim, or the one that Stephen's in, who's the cameraman from Avid behind the camera, you might not see him at the moment, he'll hide away if he blanks, but he'll be in front of the camera if he catches loads. That's how these cameramen always are. And if he catches a few, we'll talk to him in a bit. But either one of these swims has done a fish last night, so somebody's dropped on some fish, and that's what we're hoping to do in this particular swim. But the main reason why I've selected this one at the moment is because of those islands. Now, this side of the islands, you can see the wind is a little bit sheltered, and with this wind being so cold, I'm favouring the backs of those islands as being an area where the carp might be. And there is a little bit of depth at the back of those islands as well. It drops down to about 6 or 7 foot, which is absolutely ideal for this time of the year. I don't like really deep water at this time of the year. I do prefer that transition, the shallower areas, which is where they're going to investigate as it starts to warm up as we get towards the back end of March. 6 foot's good depth on a venue like this, I think, and you know that's why a lot of venues produce on zigs, because they're fishing mid-water and they're moving up towards the surface to take in the warmer sun rays that you get at this time of the year. But I've got 3 rods out myself at the moment. I've got 2 at the back of the islands, and I've also got 1 this side of what is like a sunken island in front of me, which is about halfway across. So again, this side, so it's protected from that wind, because it is very, very biting. And believe me, we feel it outside of the water standing here at the moment, but the fish also feel it in the water, because if you're on the end of this, it's certainly going to be cooling that water temperature down. And although the light levels are getting the fish moving around, they do still seek that warmer water. My lips are frozen, my hands are frozen, everything else is frozen. It really is cold, and I have not seen one fish show. So we're coming into the first evening, and I know what's in here. There's a lot of fish in here, and I think it could be a case of, if we do get a bite, it's probably just going to be one out of the blue, one random fish at any time. I don't know. Just looking at the catches that's been coming from the lake in the last week or two, it's just been one random bite here and there. So, you know, that happens. They're very easy carp, these carp. They're very green carp. They probably don't even know what bait is. They've probably been just fed on pellets, and I'm not using pellets myself at the moment. Now, Stephen is, though. He's using little bags of pellets, so it could be a good tactic. I don't know, but I do think it's more to do with the conditions, because I've seen this kind of thing happen before. At this time of the year, before the equinox, you get the fish, they respond to weather. If it's nice and warm, you get a little window period of a couple of days, you'll get some action. And after the equinox, when they start moving, doesn't matter what the weather is, you'll start catching them. And at the moment, they're not yet properly, I can't even speak, it's that cold. They're not yet properly in what I would call spring mode. So it's about understanding carp, and it doesn't matter whether you go to the hardest lake in the world or you go to the easiest lake in the world, like this place, where they're quite naive. They're still carp. They're still very much driven by their natural instincts, their natural behaviour. It's only when they start getting caught a few times in the summer months, when they've been caught a couple of times, they get a little bit difficult, they get a little bit riggy, and when you do have to sort of refine your tactics. So at the moment, it's not a tactical choice while we're blanking, it's more to do with getting on the fish, and, you know, hopefully something might happen in the next 12, 24 hours, something like that, we'll see.
Well, there we go, a mega 31 pounder taking on that solid bag out in the lee of that island. As Crowy mentioned, an ideal spot in these really, really savagely windy conditions. I think they're just sheltering from that wind. We've not seen a single fish since we've been here, so just going in easy with the solid bags and been resulted with 3 fish, and this one at 31 and a half, a very lively mirror, probably never been caught before, and yeah, what a result. So where we're fishing on Blackcomb here at ADH Fisheries, my opening gambit was, in fact, solid bags. Now, I absolutely love solid bag fishing along with zig fishing, but the reason I went for the solid bags instead of the zigs to start off with was because it's a new fishery. New fishery, new fish, but they're big fish and they've been reared on pellets, which is exactly why I've gone for the solid bags. Now, as I mentioned, it's something I absolutely love to use, and I can prep these well in advance, and it just makes the fishing very, very easy when I'm out on the bank. Now, as I said, pellets, new fish go hand in hand, and the darker pellets that I've got in these solid bags will also really contrast against that lighter clay bottom that you're going to find on all of these lakes, and especially fishing up to them islands. So there's the bags that I've been using. We've got one of our large inline solid bag stems with the O-ring. Now, the O-ring's really important for me because it just gives you that little bit of extra movement, and the difference between the O-ring and the quick change is that you can get that lead right to the bottom and it's not impacting the bottom of the bag. What I mean by that is if you're using the quick change version, then that's going to be sticking out an extra couple of mil out the bottom of the bag and will affect how far forward you can get the lead. So that's what it looks like finished and all done and ready to go. And I've actually got one Blue Peter style there. That is basically what it looks like inside the bag. So I've just got one of our Amarok size 6 hooks there, about just over just under 4.5 inches, 4 inches of some subtle braid there, little bit of shrink tube over the eye of the hook, bit of silicone. I've then got a 3.5 ounce inline lead there, probably my go-to lead choice. Just means that if the wind does get up or I'm fishing up to a shelf, it's going to hold bottom and also helps with hooking. I've also been catching on the pink ones there. That's just a little bright wafter that I've trimmed down just so it wafts up above the hook and the hook stays flat. So there it is. That is my go-to tactics for newer venues, newer fish, pellet reared carp. And yeah, that is what has been doing the trick for me so far.
Well, I can't tell you how cold that wind is. It's absolutely Baltic at the moment. So cold that I've just played a fish, just landed it. I was shouting Steve, who's tucked away inside his brolly, and he couldn't hear me, and he's only like 20 yards away. It's really, really cold, trust me. Anyway, I've gone 24 hours on a lake that's got really virgin carp in here, and I've not caught anything, but I've just had one. So, you know, I'm fairly confident I'm going to get another one. I've not got the footage of me playing the fish on proper camera because Steve didn't get it, but we've got my GoPro footage, which is not too bad, so hopefully it'll give you an insight into what it's like. But for me, I think on this lake, even though they're virgin fish, I do think it's a case of when they're in front of you, you've got a good chance of catching them. So I'm fairly sure I've got another chance tonight. Steve's already had 3 this morning. He's not had anything today, so maybe they're just moving up and down the lake a little bit. But anyway, enough of the tactics. Let's have a look at the fish. Well, there you go, guys. 24 hours into the session, not a bleep apart from a bird, and first bite, 33 mirror. So absolutely lovely. I don't care how old they are. I know you're all sitting there going, oh, it's a new carp and it's from a new lake, an easy lake and all that sort of stuff, but it's all about having fun. And it's not been fun in this cold weather, so catching one is proper fun for me. Anyway, let's get him down. I know I've mentioned a couple of times in this film about these kind of new waters and how British carp anglers especially have mixed responses to it, because some guys don't like them and others do. Now, I've fished a lot of these kind of venues over the years, and I'll list a few of the really famous ones now. When Bluebell first opened as a day ticket complex, I went down there was no trees around it, it was just a hole. And Tobber Manor, places like the New Linear Complex, and I talk about the New Linear Complex because the old Linear Complex, I can't talk at the moment because I'm so cold. It was over at Great Bridgeford, that's where my mum lives, at Great Bridgeford. It was over at the, what's it called, the Great, oh God, Great Linford Complex over at Milton Keynes originally, and then it's moved to, it's now Oxford venue. And I remember going down there when Hardwick Smiths, I've actually got photographs of myself and Rob Hughes down at Hardwick Smiths when there was no trees around it whatsoever. It was just a hole in the ground with blue water like this. And the monument, you go to the monument now, it's absolutely beautiful down there. Some lovely trees around it, but went there when there was just no trees around it at all. And all these venues have become really famous in due course, 20 years down the line, 30 years in the case of Bluebell. I think it was about 1993, 1994 when I first went there. And they're all really famous fisheries. This area of the country, which is the northeast Lincolnshire coast, it's got no really big day ticket venues. So this particular water, I'm absolutely sure in about 10 years time, 15 years time, when these trees have all sprouted up, and certainly if the fish are still around and they're still growing like they are at the moment, this is going to be a really famous complex. It really is. It's certainly going to be a very popular day ticket complex, and it wouldn't surprise me if in years to come people are talking about this lake with regards to how lovely it looks, because at the moment it looks very bare. It certainly could do with some trees on that bank over there, but there are trees sprouting up, and I know full well the way that Nick runs his fisheries, he's a hard-working guy. Nick is. He's currently digging another pond over the back there. He's non-stop. So this venue very soon is going to look absolutely wonderful. I'm very sure of it. Lovely morning it is as well today. Far contrast to yesterday with that really cold biting wind. It's flat calm. It was a beautiful sunrise this morning as well. It almost looked a little bit like we was in the Sahara Desert with those mountains in the background, although obviously we're not. We're obviously in Lincolnshire. But yeah, great conditions for springtime fishing as well, because there's a little bit of warmth in that sun. It's only 9 o'clock at the moment and already I'm taking the layers off. Stephen behind the camera's got his t-shirt on at the moment, so we're noticing the changing conditions, and I'm fairly sure that these fish are going to notice as well, because it's the perfect time now for those fish to get into the closer margins of those islands that's in front. Yesterday I changed tactics. I was on little bits of yellow. I was using the PB wafters and fishing over a bit of corn, but I saw that Steve was catching on reds and pinks, so I decided to switch over, just using little bags of crayfish mini mix and alongside some raspberry wafters, so some bright red wafters, and it did me a couple of bites. I had that 33 yesterday afternoon, and then during the night I've also had a mid double as well. So yeah, we've got probably about 3 or 4 hours left now. We're going to be leaving about midday-ish, something like that, and there's definitely a chance, I think, of a bite or two to finish with, because this sun at the moment, it's nice and warm. The fish are hopefully going to getting close to those islands, and I've got all 3 of my rods now pretty tight to the islands in about 5 or 6 foot of water, which is the perfect sort of depth for this time of the year. So let's see what happens over the next 3 or 4 hours. So it's definitely been an enjoyable 2 days down here. We've not quite done 48 hours, but some people like these new venues and some don't. I don't mind them. I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice getting a few bites, if I'm honest, especially at this time of the year. And the weather just looks absolutely right for the guys turning up now. But we've had a couple of nice fish, a couple of 30s, one each, and we've got some crackers, if I'm honest. So it's been really enjoyable, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching as well. And this lake, it's open for day tickets. It's on the Swinbook app, I think it is, and there's also lots of other venues on this complex as well. It comes really well recommended. The Specimen Lake over the road has been around for quite a while now, and obviously there's some really great fish to catch. So Get yourselves booked on. There's loads of space available, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching today and learned a little bit about fishing at this time of the year. And if you have, then don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Avid channel for future videos, and no doubt we'll see you again real soon.